All right, in case you didn't notice, I bought this workout machine to lean on. So I was in the market for something to go around on the property with and work on things, and I was looking at them John Deere Gators, but man, I could have another muscle car for the price of those things, and that's no lie. People want too much for those. Well, I found this Japanese mini truck. It's a Daihatsu brand, and it's pretty beat up, but it ran. But it was missing a few things, and somebody scabbed an old Toyota Dolphin rear end in, and it was just missing a few parts that made it where I couldn't really use it. So I found a guy that had a rear end for it, and I did the right thing that anybody would do and just bought the whole thing. So now I've got two of them. I don't know why. I don't know. So on this episode of Junk Bucket Garage, we're going to try to make this run, and I'm going to show you its party piece, the reason why I even bought the whole thing. And you know, it's pretty neat. You'll like it, I bet you. Well, before we get too far on this video, let's take a little walk around. This is a 3-cylinder gas engine with a 4-speed automatic transmission. This one here is the first one I picked up, and you could see somebody just scabbed this Toyota Dolphin rear end in it, and they did a fine job. This is factory quality machine work here. None of the brakes are hooked up, so those don't work, and you know, that's okay. This thing was just mint. But then I found out after I started trying to use it that not only do these trucks have the little bitty teeny tires that make the gear ratio even lower, but they had like 666 gears in these little bitty guys. I guess that was so you could load a ton of whatever seed of your choice in the back, and then it would still move. Well, these only have like, I don't know, 375s or something like that. And the clutch on this is about, I don't know, that big around. And it just would not work with these high gears. It just spins the clutch. It doesn't go anywhere. And it wouldn't rev up. It would just idle. But you know, it ran good. Well, this was my big stopping point right here, because if it don't drive around and do stuff, it's just not worth nothing to me. And you could see the Toyota goodness in here. That's, I believe, Toyota or Datsun, I don't know, somebody that actually makes these. I'm going to say Toyota because all of these gauges and doohickeys and the fan controls and stuff, that's all very reminiscent of late 80s, early 90s Toyota stuff. And I would know, I've had a bunch of those. So I think that's pretty neat. This seat here just folds up out of the way, and you got your motor down there. A little bitty radiator. Everything is so cute. Everything is so small. Well, this one, they loaded an elephant in it, and it fell forward and smashed the whole cab in. But I was thinking, I just want something to replace, or to do yard work like a Gator. I would just cut the top off anyways if it was that big of a deal. Except for that rear end and it not being able to drive. That just bit me. So, looking for a rear end, I found the whole stinking truck. Same exact one, wouldn't you know it? Only about 2 hours from me. So he was gonna sell me the rear end out of it. And then I got to looking at all the other stuff I needed, and I said, hey, let me just snag that whole truck from you. And this gentleman's name was Fred. He's a very cool guy. He had a lot of really nice hot rods. We got along. And he said, yeah, take the whole thing. So now I got 2 of them. But this little tiny rear end has got the 600 gears in it. This was all apart when I got it. He said that he had the motor rebuilt and put a new clutch in it. And seeing as how I don't know Fred at all, really, I totally trust him. Yep. Well, he's still looking for the carburetor, so I had to rob this one off of the other truck right there. and cobbled together a fuel system. You got right there, that's factory. It's got no cooling system in it yet, but look at this. Brand new Record radiator. That was worth the price of the whole truck. And wouldn't you know, that other truck when I bought it had this fancy lithium ion battery in it. And that's probably worth the price I paid for the whole truck. So all in all, I think I'm coming out pretty good. Today what we got to do though is make this thing work. Make it run and drive and go down the road. You can see on the dash here, I think you can see that. It only does 25 miles an hour, but that's okay. I got the carburetor hooked up on it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and let you guys know that the day I was doing most of this stuff, it was like 105,000 degrees in Northern California. And I just didn't have the energy to film and work on things. So, well, this is what I've done. I put the carburetor on it. I've hooked up most of the fuel lines, vacuum hoses. This 4-speed transmission was in the bed of this truck. I put it in. And this thing is so cute. I held it up with one hand and installed the bolts while holding this up with one hand. It is tiny. Drive line is hooked up, and you can see here, it's, if you're familiar with Toyotas, that'll look familiar right there. Actually, that whole rear end will kind of look familiar. That looks just like a rear end and flange out of a Toyota pickup. That's because it's the miniature version. I don't have the gas tank hooked up because that gas smells like old diapers and wood varnish. So I had the fancy plastic California safety approved can hooked up. We got gas all the way up to the filter that I put in over there, and you'll notice this gas is really dark. That's because that's got 2-stroke oil in it. It's been sitting for a while, so I don't really want to start it dry. I do have oil in it, but that 2-stroke oil just helps lubricatify everything. What we got left to do in this is, there's no cooling system installed yet, and that choke won't open without the cooling system installed because it uses the temperature of the water that comes up in this doodad, and it does magic, and then it opens the choke once the water warms up. The hydraulic system isn't hooked up yet. I have patent pending board holding the bed up. Now here's my plan. I got a lot of the work done. There's a lot more to go, and I'm gonna have you follow me through while I do it. But I just wanna make sure that this motor runs good. So that's why I don't have water or anything hooked up to it yet. Don't worry. Don't worry. I promise. You can start these without the water cooling system hooked up, and you won't kill it. You just can't let it run for very long. But if you want to just make sure that it runs good, just, you know, hook up the coil, hook up the wires, get the electric tank full of electricity, hook it up on there, and then just go through the procedure of making sure it runs before I go too far. This one I know runs great already, so if this one don't, then this one will go into that one, or vice versa. I don't know, we'll do something. I know that I got enough here to make one good truck, and if I ever get started. Well, I got gas up to the filter and into the carburetor. I had to actually take this thing apart because it had some really bad gas in it that was plugging everything up. Ready? All I want to do right now is start it, make sure it runs. Once I make sure it runs, we'll go forward with everything else. So, all right. Yeah.
Say when.
Go ahead.
Cylinder power, baby. 3 cylinder power, baby. 3 cylinder power. 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 3 cylinder power, baby. 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 3 cylinder power, baby.
That is success. All right, now we know it runs good. Let's move on.
Can you repeat what you just said every time you get a vehicle?
I need to clean this out, but I ain't gonna do it.
That's not what he says every time.
What do I say every time?
You say, okay, start cleaning, woman.
That's not true. I say when it's your car, you should clean it. When it's my car, I should clean it.
It's never gonna happen.
And when it's my car that you're gonna use, you should clean it.
And when it's my car that you're gonna use, I should also clean it.
That's a good idea. Well, this truck, you know what you want to do when you park these for a while is you want to do what Fred did and just put absorbent stuff everywhere. I mean everywhere. So, Fred, you nailed it. It's got two systems here that I need to hook up. One is this hydraulic tank, and then two is the coolant water tank. And I'm thinking about which one to do first so that one don't get in the way of the other. I think we'll just go ahead and snip in this hydraulic tank real quick. It just goes like that. So this is the right way. We're missing a hook for the hose right there. And the hose is too short. Found this in the cab, maybe that'll work. What you want to look for when you're buying one of these is, like any project, you want to make sure all the bolts are just in a bucket somewhere so you have no idea what's what. That's not it at all. Nope, wrong. Just leave those right there.
What do you got, Odin? You got stick? Don't eat the stick. No.
Oh yeah, that's not it either. Put those right there. Oh yeah. Oh, that's the one.
I am looking right at you. Stop eating the stick.
Oh, drop that. No spiders down here. I'm okay.
You comfortable?
When you got a nice concrete slab and a garage to work on stuff, you want to make sure you put it out in the sticky, thorny grass. Just adds to the ambiance. We got anything on my back?
No, nothing.
All right. In this area.
Nope, there's nothing on there.
Okay. That's the hose holder upper. Wow. Just went up a notch.
Can't you just chew through it?
I could, but if I showed my superpowers, the government would put me in a lab somewhere and experiment on me. Slide that on there like that. Then I'm gonna see if this will work.
You didn't check it before you cut it?
You don't need to do that. Son of a biscuit.
Is it too short?
Yeah. So.
What's that say on the top of that tank?
Well, for Pete's sake. It says chicken, laser beam, porcupine, hippopotamus.
That's my face.
Smiley face. Well, cut one too short, and I had 3 more pieces of this, and they were all almost exactly the same length. So.
How many have you cut too short for other projects? Did you measure it?
I sure did. And if I measure it, you mean no, I didn't. You nailed it.
This is why.
Wow. Should be nice if I had a tool that was specifically designed for cutting hose.
You do.
Oh yeah. Let my chicken go. Leave the chickens alone, dogs. They supply us with eggs. You love eggs.
Good thing you're good at making that motion, huh?
Lots and lots of practice.
Joys of being married. Like you know what washing dishes is.
I saw it on the Discovery Channel once.
Say, when was the last time you washed a dish?
You weren't there when it happened. Nice thing about working on Japanese-made trucks, if you got a 10 and a 12, maybe the occasional 18 millimeter, you can pretty much do anything. All right, I gotta find bolts to put the radiator in. Then I gotta put some hydraulic oil in it. This transmission is empty. I gotta put some oil in that. I think that's gonna be gear oil. I gotta make sure though. And then the cables that go to this shifter, I gotta attach those. They're just sitting in place right now. I'm gonna have to change this hose eventually, and what I'm gonna have to change it to is back to the stuff I tried to use originally that I cut too short. But for now, that'll work. It's like a radiator, only smaller.
On a motorcycle. Does that work tight too?
If I could find my electric ratchet, that'd be really handy.
Yeah, that's it.
Alrighty. Yeah, that looks good, huh? Perfect. Oh yeah. Hold on the. Oh yeah. I think my fingers are almost strong enough to just put those on. Just like that. Oh yeah. Look at that. Hose clamp fingers, baby.
You're showing your superpowers.
Ouch! You know, look at this thing. What in the world is that? Oh, that made me lightheaded. All right. It's gotta go like that.
Yeah, that looks right. Gingerly.
Boy, that just,
Looks wonky as shit.
man, it is hard up against that tube.
She don't like it.
Touching?
Nope.
Barely or no?
No, no,
Nope.
just
You got about an eighth
not
of
at
an
all.
inch.
Beautiful.
Is that the plug that was missing?
Yes.
Oh. Oh, that's what it is. You ate one of those and he loves
did.
cheese. Like, Dad, Papa has cheese and he didn't give me any. Give him love.
That's the bottle's water. Leave it alone. It'll train on him if you bite it.
Not bad. Won't pour it in here too, though.
Three prongs at the bottom, two at the bottom. Okay.
Keep hands away. Fan starts autumn. Isn't that adorable? I had a prop like that on an RC plane once.
I've seen those in
So cute. Oh no! When we get it in, now that we hooked up all the hoses and stuff, might maybe from your side. No, not without lifting it up.
Okay.
We'll try again. Think you can get it? I got faith in you. We're gonna go have tacos. You let me know when you get that in, okay?
We're having tacos? Baby, you can't say tacos around a pregnant person.
Here.
No. It just moves so easy.
We're gonna go ahead and test the structural integrity of this bumper here. Yeah, we better block it. Try pulling the e-brake. See if the e-brake works.
I don't think it's this one.
Oh, yeah, we got an e-brake. High class.
Yeah, you're caught up on the thermostat. Right up against this plug. What plug? The thermostat plug you put in. Okay. Oh yeah. Alright, Francis got it.
A number one, okay. Good time mechanic.
That dog.
Now we're going to put some water in it. What I like to do on a motor that's been sitting for a long time and I don't really know much about it, when I first fill up the radiator, I just use regular old plain water. Let it come up to temperature a few cycles, then I drain all that out, maybe get some of the rust and debris out of the engine. Then I'll put the expensive stuff in. So here we go with water. I don't know what to do. You're gonna put me on the spot like that. I can't think of nothing to say.
Usually you say something really dumb when I put you on the spot. I mean, funny.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, this holds about 2.5 ounces of water. Should probably let it back down on the ground, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, at least now we know that if we have a bumper jack, we can pretty much lift the whole thing up in the air whenever we need to. Scratch it. Do you hear drip? I hear drip.
I hear drip. It's right. Do you see where it is? Straight down from the center of the radiator.
This hose right here, maybe?
Yep. Yes, because when you just squished it, more drop base came dropping.
Is there a clamp on it?
No, there is not a clamp.
Well.
Is that a cam on it?
It's the screwdriver looking thing.
Red handle.
Red handle with no bits in it. Bit in it.
Tell the colorblind person what color the handle is.
Yeah, I know he does that to me a lot.
It has a handle on it.
Multi-tool screwdriver.
It looks like a screwdriver, but it doesn't have a screwdriver.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
All right. One water leak found.
That's only drip drip I hear.
Note to self. Hose clamps help with water leaks. See, this keeps happening right here. So I gotta get those little clips that go in there and hold those in place.
Okay.
Air work.
It's steaming.
See a little bit of smoke coming out of the pipe, but this is two-stroke oil the motor's running on. So that's kind of to be expected. Is it starting to circulate? I want to see if that thermostat will open and then if the choke will open. Definitely needs plug. Okay, no power there. No power there. No power there. So those points aren't connecting again. Oh, now they are.
Vibration from the rough around the truck.
Nah,
Yeah.
now it's reading.
That's reading.
Well, it's day 2 of working on the mini truck. I did some stuff that we didn't film. It's just little things, and I'll show you some of it real quick. So we got the motor running, and it was running erratically, so I ended up just putting all this air filter on, and it's got stuff that comes off the exhaust and then vacuum and electro digitals on the carbonator and all this stuff, and I thought maybe that would have something to do with the idling, and it did. So now it's idling good and running good. We put fluid in the transmission, checked the timing, set it as best I could by ear because it's 3-cylinder. I don't know if my timing light will work on it, but I'm pretty good at hearifying it. Set the idle and the air screw, and then we came in here and the electric fan didn't come on, so we found that problem was a bad fuse. And then the temperature gauge wasn't working, so we tracked that down just about everywhere, couldn't find anything. And it turns out that on the printed circuit board on the back, power goes into the fuel gauge and then feeds from the fuel gauge through a little teeny tiny set of points over to the temperature gauge, and those points were burned. So we sanded on those and got them connecting, so now the temperature gauge works. And I could be wrong, but I think that temperature gauge, the reading that it shows, has something to do with some of the electronics on that carburetor, because that seemed to fix a lot of issues we were having with idling. So now I'm going to go in here and we're going to work on this mess. Somebody did a bang up job of just destroying all the controls for the hydraulics. But luckily we got a spare truck, so I was able to just take the pigtail out of that, switch that we were missing, and some of the lights that wire into this whole mess. I'm gonna go in and plug all this in, then we'll clean the dash, put it back together, and then we're gonna do something about that fuel system. I'll probably take the tank out, and maybe I'll just stick a bore scope down it to see what it looks like. I know if there is any gas in it, it's gonna be bad, so we'll get rid of that. And then hopefully we can get this thing eating off of its own tank, and we can drive it. Nope, we can't do that yet. Look at what I found. Yeah, we're gonna have to make a brake line. I'll show you how I do that with some pliers and baling wire and duct tape, and then hopefully we get to drive this thing. I gotta say, if you ever run into a problem with wiring, having another vehicle sitting right next to it that's exactly the same sure is helpful in figuring out where things go. It's much better than looking around on the internet for 7 hours, guessing. All right, that pigtail's made up. Now, I looked through this and it looks like all of these plugs are going to replace all of these plugs. So I just need to come up here and cut this whole loom loose, wire this directly onto it, and then all my terminals are going to be right there on that.
Hopefully.
Right? Right. Here we go. Too late now. So just changing this pigtail on the end here, I give it about a 5% chance that it's going to work the way it's supposed to, and then there'll be something else wrong. And then these two warning lights go to these, and then this plugs into the other switch. And somebody spliced this main power wire and hooked something up to it for some reason, so we'll cover that up, get the heat gun and shrink all of these. We should be ready to move on to phase 2. Take me to your leader. What do you think the odds are that...
Ooh, dangerous. danger. Hey, something's working.
Hey, those didn't work before.
Good job.
Well, that fixed something.
Hey, one thing is better than nothing, right? Here.
Now, at least if we're broke down, the hazard lights work.
In our own yard.
Oh, this has a pass setting. Don't know what that means. Oh, I bet you it flashes the high beams. Letting them know you're going to pass them in this fine machine. Got it. Okay. That one's going to go all the way up there. All right. Oh, that's not it. Yep. Nope. Yep. Oh, there it is. Oh, that. Oh. There it is.
Cup holders.
How else are you supposed to have a cold, icy beverage while you're working on your lawn dinghy? These two grounds gotta go right up in here like so. That's one bolt should be good, right? It's just brakes. Nobody ever uses those anyway. Now I can plug that into there. And then I gotta grab that other switch. I don't know why I didn't bring it over, but that plugs into this.
What's that switch there on the floor?
The switch I'm looking for. Like that. Oh, man. Oh yeah. Now we're talking with gas. Or whatever. Now we had that electric fan motor not working, and it was a blowed fuse, and it came on once. I'm just checking. Anytime you find a blown fuse and then you go and fix it and things work, you want to go back and check your next fuse and make sure that's not blown, because that'll tell you that there's actually something wrong in that circuit. Fuse is not blown and the fan has come on since then, so I think we're okay there. I think we're ready to move on. I'll just put the rest of these little trim pieces in and move on to trying to get that gas tank figured out. I'm excited for that. It needs gas so we can drive. So guys, I just realized, you know, since I bought this first mini truck, I've kind of fallen in love with these things. The simplicity and usefulness I think is going to be amazing, but I just realized how much I love these. Because you got your cold snack here. When you're working on it, it fits that tumbler just right. So I think all in all, I give it, this is the best truck that's ever been made award, and we'll just carry on. Well, first thing, it's got a locking gas cap on it. So, disaster one averted. Now we're just gonna give it the whiff test. Oh yeah, that's the bad stuff. I don't know how much is in there. Let's see how much is in there. Looks like none. So I think I'm gonna take a gamble and just pour some gas in it, and then I'll put a couple of filters in the line so that we can see if any bad stuff's coming out. I think we're just gonna give it the old college try. Oh, everything. And they had it connected up to this here electro fuel pump. We're gonna take that right out of there because we know we got our mechanical fuel pump working. Oh yeah. And then I think we're just gonna use this red hose that we already got. Hook it right onto there. Ow, it hurts. Oh, sure. Fine, then don't work. Now, I got a filter on the line here already, and that's got that dark two-stroke gas in it. So if it starts to feed off of the tank, that should start clearing up and it'll stay full. Let's see what happens. Well, we got fuel pumping up through it, and my wiring worked because I heard that hydraulic pump come on. But I'm pretty sure that the ram and all of the lines have been emptied of hydraulic fluid, so we better check that tank again. Hydraulic pump is running off the switch on the dash, but I'm not getting any lift, and I'm sure there's air in this ram and air in the lines. I think I'm going to have to get that board out of there, let that bed come down, and then we'll see if we can get that ram to lift. So we're still not getting any hydraulic action, so I'm going to break this line loose back here and just see if I can let some air out of it. So just to make sure it's pumping fluid, I'm going to leave that pretty loose. And then I'm going to start it and just tickle that switch and see if any fluid sprays out. Well, I broke that line loose and we gave it the beans and it's not pumping any fluid. But the pump is coming on. I noticed there is a kink in the line right here. Maybe it's not feeding fluid to the pump. I don't know. We're going to have to investigate. Well, that pump, I broke the line off up here and it's completely bone dry. There's no hydraulic fluid getting to it. Smashed my finger pretty good. That's okay. I'm going to put some hydraulic fluid in this bottle and see if I can fill that pump up and then try it again. It's just pumping air. There's no fluid in there for it to move, so I think we got a pretty good chance of this working. That went about as well as expected. Poured everywhere. Let's just fill that pump up. Well, we got fluid in there now. Snip these lines on and then try it again. Now it'll have some fluid to move and hopefully that'll kickstart the system. I'm pretty sure it's actually got a plug on top for filling it, but that works too. Well, what did I do with my... Where did it go? Well, I've never in my whole life just lost everything. Found it. Here's the old snipperoo. Alright. If you don't have any t-shirts for rags, these are pretty close seconds. Get you some underwear. Don't need those anyway. Attempt number trace. Well, I decided before going ahead and digging into that pump and trying to take it off that I was going to try one more thing. There's a plug on the top of that pump. I pulled that plug off and I filled it from the top with fluid as much as I could get in there. It's a pretty tight space, but check this out. Whoa. Crisis averted. So now that we got it running, we got to deal with this situation here. Got this smashed up brake line. Figured before we try the gears and see if it goes forwards and backwards, we should probably make sure the brakes work at least a little bit. Maybe not all the brakes, but just some of the brakes. So I'm gonna get that off there real quick and then get it off on the other side. And I got a piece, I'm gonna actually reuse those flare nuts on a new piece of pipe, and we'll put some flares in them with the flaring tool, hook that pipe back up, and then we'll get into bleeding the brakes and see if these brakes even work. Well, I got that old line out and I got the new one in. I got a couple of the initial bends in where it reach around this leaf spring. And what I like to do now, it's a short run so I can get away with it, is I snug this side up. Now this side was already flared, had the flare nut on it. It was just a stock piece from O'Reilly's or something like that. And now I got it over here. It's extra long. And I'm just gonna go ahead and gently make my bends here. I got a bending tool. And then get that pointed to where it needs to go. And then I'll go ahead and cut it to length and put the other flare nut and flare in. You can see this thing's been smashed up. They probably threw an axle strap around it or a chain and tied it down with a chain, and they just pinched that really good. But we're almost there. It ain't got to be perfect. As long as nothing can snag it or break it, or it's not got any kinks in it, we should have brakes. Well, I went ahead and straightened that bracket up. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be straight up and down like that. Even if it's not, that gives me less of an angle that I got to make this hard line point down. It makes it a little easier to get these bends right. And then I got the length I need right there. I marked it. And now let's get this thing back off of here and we'll go put it in the flaring tool. Put a flare on it. Always remember when you're putting a flare on the end of a pipe, quadruple 17 times, check and make sure that your flare nut is on the tube first. Because if you put that flare in, you can't get that on afterward. Something about magic or physics or something like that. Ask me how I know. I've done it a bunch. All right, here we go. All right, we're all hooked up. One custom made brake line. Ready to go. Now we got to run up here and get some brake fluid in the old brake fluid holder. It is strategically placed, or you'll never find it if the cover's on it. I'll get this filter up. Come on now. Oh yeah, that looks good. Yep, we're gonna leave that, pretend like it's okay. And let's see if we can get brakes. Then we can go drive it. Oh, after I put a seat in it. Might need a seat. It wouldn't be so bad if you weren't sitting right on top of the fan, but yep. I thought I saw an air bubble come out of that. Oh, I'm hearing fluid noises. Well, this ain't like an American car. You just can't have tools in the floor and still have room for your feet. I'm hearing some pumpulating. Time to get serious. The old kung fu jerk-off action. Oh yeah, I felt a little break happen. Well, no. That can't be right, can it? So this thing only has one bleeder in the back. It feeds that line that we just replaced into that slave cylinder. Then it fires it out over to this side, to this slave cylinder, and the bleeder's over here. I mean, if it works, cool. I never. This is perfectly organized. I don't understand why I can't find anything. Yeah. Oh, look at that. See, I just had to go back through my filing system. I knew I'd find it. Yeah. I just don't have any faith in this thing gravity feeding. It's not gonna happen. But let's give it a minute. We'll see what happens. Are you seeing this? It actually gravity fed some brake fluid out. Well, I'll be darned. Did not see that coming. Nothing. Well, we ended up having to, we had to use the two-man brake bleed method, so we had to put the seat in. Then what you do is you get down there, one guy with your wrench on that nipple, and you tell the other guy, go ahead, and he pumps it 3 or 4 times and then holds the pedal down hard. And then he says, okay, and you break that line loose and let the fluid spray out, and you snug it up, and then this guy says, okay, and then he pumps it again, holds the brake down, he says, down, break it loose, snug it back up, say, okay. We did that 3 or 4 times. Once on the fronts just to make sure. It sucked about half of this reservoir down, but look at this. It's just got brakes forever now. It still pump up, I don't know, about that much. That's perfect. You'll be able to just push on those and stop. So now what do we do? I think it's time to see if this thing goes forwards and backwards, because we still don't know if this transmission has gears or if it's messed up. So let's try it. Oh yeah, still don't have a door handle. Brake off. That should be first gear. Oh yeah. Brakes? Not brake. This thing even has an emergency brake. It works. Grease. I hear some squeaking in there. Let's go drive this thing. Sweet. Okay, my door don't close, so we'll just give it the old one arm hold on to it trick. Oh, I got to put my arm around it. If I start to fall out, just hold me, okay?
turn radius. You're good. Maybe get one of your dad's nitro pills.
They need nitrous. Did we check the fluids? No. We did make sure we had brakes though. That's a good thing. Now in true fashion, true junk bucket fashion, this thing is not supposed to be on the road here, so we're gonna put it on the road. Brakes work good, the clutch feels good. Temperature gauge is working. We got the oil dummy light, it works and it's off, so it's got oil pressure. The blinkers and the headlights work in this thing. Can you believe it? Can't believe it. Second gear, moving along, 10 miles an hour. Truck. That ain't bad going over some bumps. Yeah. Fourth gear. Buttering right along. Blinkers work. Blinkers work. Headlights work. No tail lights. Oh, stop sign. Yeah, you can even downshift.
That's nice. You don't have to double clutch.
Past 25. Just getting a little wiggly. Oh, slight incline, gotta go to third. I can see going to work in this every day.
Get there tomorrow.
It's got a little bit of a rattle everywhere. Alright. Oh, did it die? It died. That's okay. The door fell open too, that's okay. Okay. Oh, door's closed again. That's an automatic door. It's ahead of its time. Definitely need to rebuild that carburetor. Maybe if I drive it around a little bit, it'll come out of it. It's like it's healing itself. It's already driving better. It's just happy to be on the road again. Just pluck a little thing. Fourth gear is really high. You don't use fourth gear unless you're going downhill. Pulls to the right just a little. Ready?
Low tire.
Oh, might have a flat. It's just a little pull. Ah. I'm not scared. Oh, what's this? What's this do? What's that do? It don't work. We don't need cab lights. Anything you're doing in this truck, you're going to want to be doing in the dark anyway?
Long smoke?
Is it smoking?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's smoking a little bit. That could just be everything burning off the engine too.
Hydraulic fluid.
Oh,
Oh, it's not bad.
handles it like a champ. Definitely smelling some smoke coming from
Underneath.
the engine area.
I didn't know you had seat warners in this.
Oh yeah. Custom. Oh, you might need to idle it up a little bit. Now that it's actually up to running temperature. Yeah, that's just idling too low. We can fix that real easy. That's just idling too low. I just gotta idle it up a little. It's been a while since I've had a car you can get third gear just pulling in your driveway though. You know what? I got a better idea. Let's park it in the shade. So you've seen this dump bed for the dump thing. This is why I bought the truck. Watch this. Pull that little lever over. Lifting work platform. How neat is that? Why don't they do that to all the dump trucks? I like that. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of Junk Bucket Garage. I know it's not a hot rod, but these things are pretty neat. Make sure you like, comment if you want to say something. Ask me questions, tell me I'm dumb, I don't care. Hit that subscribe button. Catch y'all next time. 3-cylinder Japanese truck burnout attempt. Go sports team.
Sir, you lost a tire.
Perfect.